All right. Good morning, everyone, or wherever you happen to be. This is Mike from magplus. In this webinar, we're going to talk about something I'm pretty excited about, which is the new 4.0 release. And we've got a bunch of good stuff to show you in this. Let me turn off our little chat room here and minimize some other controls. Hopefully everybody can see and hear me okay. I'm going to try to speak up and hopefully this will record and you'll be able to hear everything just fine. So there's a few things I want to talk about in this release. As I mentioned, this is a big release for us. There's some really cool new stuff in here, particularly on the app side. And I want to show you some examples of apps built in the 4.0 release, showing some of the new features here. And I'm going to be using this app called Reflection app, which you hear me reference a lot if you've watched any of my videos or watched any of these webinars. It's a really great little app that allows you to mirror on your desktop screen what's on your iPad. And so I've got my iPad sitting next to me here, but so I don't have to turn on my webcam and make you try to peer at it that way. I'm just going to mirror it up on the screen here, and hopefully this is going to work. So what you're looking at right here is a build of Outside Magazine done in our 4.0. Now this isn't live yet in the store, we're just doing some tests with them, but I want to use it to show off some of the new UI features that exist in this version. And then I'll show you about some of the things you can customize in here as well. This app is a lot more customizable than our previous app was, so there's a lot more you can do to really make it feel like your own. Then I'm going to talk about a couple new things around testing. We've got a great new feature for testing MIBs out and for sending MIBs to other people. MIB is our issue file format, and some really good changes in the reviewer app as well that I'm excited to show you. We've got a great new feature for testing apps out when you're doing these app builds and you want to look at it on your iPad and make sure that all your customizations are working fine. We've got a really easy way to do that. Finally, I'm going to show you a couple of things that are new in the reviewer, a couple of sort of shortcuts that we hope is going to make the whole production cycle easier for you, make things a little bit simpler to do. Now, as I mentioned, this update is really about the app. Other than these couple of new things in the plugin, these sort of workflow things, we haven't added a lot of new features in here, but there's a lot to take advantage of on the reader side in terms of the customization. And really, you can think about this release being for your end users, for the people out there consuming your app every day. They're going to get a nicer experience, better reading experience, hopefully drive a lot more success for your brands. So one of the first things that you'll notice here in the app, and let me pop into an actual issue because this will be a great place to show you. One of the biggest changes we made on the UI front, we really wanted to be careful to not radically change the UI, in part because we think it was working pretty well, and we did some UI testing, as we often do, and found that, for the most part, the UI, the user interface for the app, was pretty intuitive for people. They could figure out where to go. But one of the challenges we were running into is that in the old app, all of the buttons that you had to access things when you called up this navigation were along the top, were up here. And whether it was about going back to the library or the store, or whether it was about something like bookmarking, everything existed in the same place. So one of the changes we implemented for this is that we separated out those two functions. So now you'll see that many of the primary buttons, what we call sort of the main menu, appear down here along the bottom of the screen. And you can think about these buttons, I like to refer to them as spaces. And you can see that when I tap buttons and move to new spaces in the app, you get that visual effect that you've really kind of shifted into a different room of the app almost. And so you can think about these things in the bottom as different places within the app that the user can be. They can be in their current issue that they're reading, or they can be in the live window where you can stream through content from the web. Here you can see Outside is streaming through their home page. This is one of the changes that I really love most about this release, is that we finally made the live window, which has been around for a while. We finally here made it, I think, very usable and actually a great feature for being able to serve live content through to your app. And what that can ultimately mean for you is that your app can be more than just a magazine app or more than just a publication app that people come to once a month or once a week when you publish new. You can use this live tab to stream through daily news from your site, to stream through your Twitter feed, to maybe do a new version of your homepage or an RSS render of your RSS feed to be tablet friendly, so that this feels like a place people are really going to come for current content from you. Now, of course, you could do other things with this space as well. You could sell it to sponsors or advertisers and have this go out to their website. You could use this space to promote other brands that you have as well. Or, as with any of the options in magplus, you can turn it off. This is not a button you have to have in there, but it is an option. But what's nice about it is now that you've got this full screen to work with, you can really take advantage of this space, and it can feel to the user like they're in a different space in the app. That this app does a lot of things, one of which is read a magazine, but there's also the ability to get this live content coming through. Of course, you can always change the name of that button. We'll talk about this a little bit in the customization side. But you can rename this, put a new icon in there. This can say whatever you'd like to help people understand what the purpose of this space is. All the buttons along the bottom here are really optional now. So if you're not using our subscription API to let current users sign into your app, that can turn off. Even the help issue is now optional. Some people don't want to have an embedded help issue, so that's fine. This help issue, if you do have one now, can be a multi-page issue. In the past, the way we did this was a single page that sort of popped up on top of whatever the user was reading, and it meant that you could only have a really pretty simplified MIB. It could only be a single page. It could only be a layer, because as soon as somebody tried to tap it, it would turn off. Now it's an actual unique space in the app where you can serve any issue you want to serve. So this doesn't have to be help either. This could be a sampling of your content. Anything that you want to be bundled with the app when the user downloads it before they go out and get some new content. Now, of course, there are other ways to bundle content as well, but we've just tried to bring a little bit more flexibility to the help. Again, you can also turn that off. Store is always optional, of course. Now, getting back to the notion of the UI, I mentioned that we moved all of the things about the spaces, all of the places that take you to different areas of the app you can be, to the bottom. So take a look now at what we've done at the top. This is something that came out of our iPhone UI work, and I'll talk about the iPhone project in a minute. But in the iPhone, we simply had less space to work with, so we really had to re-examine the way we were putting these options in front of people, all the things they could tap in the issue. So what we've done is to use this top bar now to put all of the actions you can take while you're reading an issue. So this top bar only comes up when you tap and you're actually in an issue. And what you see up here are the things you can do as part of the issue. So I can bookmark something now. You see I've already created one bookmark there. I can bookmark, of course, the standard way that I always used to before. So you can see there I've already bookmarked this page, so I have the yellow bookmark symbol. And of course I can always just tap this upper corner up here to bookmark things. And once I bookmark a page, you'll see it appears in here. I can also just tap this plus button here to create that bookmark. And now when I open it, you'll see I've got another bookmark selected here and a little thumbnail for what that bookmark is. If I tap the bookmark, I go right back there. So bookmarking lives up here. Sharing lives up here now. And the sharing is really interesting as well. This is a great new feature that we got out of iOS 6, brought us some new sharing options. Now what you see here, because this is an early build, is not exactly what you're going to see in your 4.0, but I'll explain the differences. So now when you click share up here, you've got a few more options. Mail we had before, and Twitter we had before. Because of Apple's single sign-on for Twitter, you can sign on in your settings, and then any app that allows you to share via Twitter, you can just click the Twitter button. You don't have to go back to the app and sign in, etc. Now we've also got message in here, so we can open up an iMessage that you can send off to a phone or to another device. We've got save to camera roll, and I'll show you what that does. If I do that, what I've just done is take a picture of this page and saved it out to my photos. So that's really great when you've got beautiful photography and you want to tell people, hey, go ahead and save this picture out to your camera roll. We've also got copy. Now this is really useful if you want to use a different service to share. Maybe you want to use something that we don't support in here, but you want to go put this in Pinterest. So if I hit copy, what's going to happen is that the same content that I get when I click any of these other share buttons is just going to be copied to my clipboard. And what that content is, I'll show you. I'll hit copy. So now I've copied that. And let's just pop into mail, even though we could use the mail function. I'll use this to show you what happens when we pop in here and hit paste. Now you'll see what I got here is a screenshot of where I was on that vertical and a link up here at the top. And this link is customizable per vertical, as with all of our sharing used to be as well. It's the same way. You can set a unique URL for each vertical. So if this story lives online, you can take people out to the version of the story that lives online, or you can use this link to just point them to your website, which is what Outside's doing here, or point them out to your app in the App Store, whatever you'd like to do. So copy just copies that content, that URL and that screenshot to your clipboard, and then you can open up any other app and just hit paste and paste it in. So let's jump back in here, and that's the same thing that happens when I click Mail or Twitter or Message. I get a URL and I get a screenshot. Now the one option you're not seeing here that we do now support is Facebook. Let me pop out to the settings and I'll show you an important note about this and why you're not seeing it in mine. And it's because now in iOS 6, just like you had with Twitter before, you've also got a single sign-on for Facebook. But in order to get that option to show up in any of your apps, you have to install the Facebook app, and you can do that from here in the settings, or of course you can go out to the iTunes Store and download the Facebook app, and you need to sign in. Once you're signed in, once the end user is signed in, that Facebook icon will appear in the sharing options. If they haven't installed this and signed in, it won't appear there. So you can see that I've signed in with I've downloaded the Twitter app and I've signed in with my Twitter handle there. So when I go back to my app, I've got Twitter as an option, but I don't have Facebook there. So that's a good thing for you to know when your users start coming to you and saying, hey, you told me you support Facebook now, how come I don't see the Facebook icon? And you can say, hey, just make sure you go into settings, download that app, and sign into your Facebook account, and you'll get that. Now there's a couple of options you're seeing here that won't actually be in this release. One is assign to contact. Now the reason you're seeing it here is because these are all things that Apple sort of gives us in the operating system to use. And assign to contact works, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. What it would do is take this picture and put it next to one of your contacts. So we've taken that one out just to avoid user confusion. And I'm sorry to say print won't be there as well. I know print is something a lot of folks have asked for, and we tried it here, but it doesn't really work. And this is the reason we've never put it in before, and I'll just quickly explain why. That in the magplus system, because we really allow you to design for this infinite canvas, we have this great layered architecture where you can scroll things up and down, there really is no print equivalent to this page. If I try to print this page, well, I can print a screenshot of it, but when your user clicks print, that's probably not what they're expecting. They really want the text or something else. So we stepped back and said, until we can give you a print experience that's going to be what your users expect, that's going to be something that's really great and useful, we're going to pull print out for now. But we hope that these other sharing options, Facebook, Message, Save to Camera, Copy, will really increase the amount that your users are sharing things. So also up in this top view here, you can see the table of contents just like we had before, that you can scroll up and down to jump to things. So that's the same as it ever was. It's a unique vertical that you can create that is the tappable table of contents. So that's really the thing to note about the new UI change, is that you've got issue-specific actions up here on the top, and you've got your spaces down at the bottom. So we've kept the same scrubber. You can see that the number that you're scrolling over appears there at the top when you scroll. The name of that vertical, now that's set in your plugin, so always remember to make that something useful for your users, appears there. And the name of the issue appears up here at the top. So this is the October 2012 preview issue. So we hope the new UI will be nice and clean, really usable for people, really drive them out to some of these other features, drive them back to your store so they can buy additional things from you, etc. Now I also want to mention one of the other things that's new in this version, and I'm going to take you out to iTunes to show you an example here as a way of showing this off. So if I head out to the iTunes Store, I just want to put this in front of you because I really want you guys to know about this. One of the things that's new in this release is we now support mobile devices. You can now design your magplus app as an iPhone app, and yes, we do support iPhone 5 as well. Hopefully you're all getting yours tomorrow. Mine's supposed to be shipping right now, I hope, if AT&T comes through. We'll support iPhone 5 right from the beginning, so you can design things for that extra tall screen they have, as well as the iPhone 4. And Android mobile. Android has been a market that's been a little slow to take off on the tablet side for a lot of our users, but the Android mobile universe is giant. So as you think about what products make sense for you and your brand for the mobile space, bear in mind that you can take advantage of not just the iPhone space, but also the Android mobile and the billion combined users of iPhone and Android mobile devices out there. So what I pulled up in front of you here, I'm not going to mirror up my iPhone screen. I just want to show you this out in iTunes. Is one of our early iPhone clients. We launched a couple of clients this summer in a kind of beta to help us work out the iPhone app and the UI and how it should function, etc., and to really help us get all the bugs out, so that when we released it here in 4.0 for all of you, so that you can all go in now today and build your iPhone app, it's really working well. One of them that we worked with is our friends over at British Journal of Photography, and if you've never looked at their iPad app, I really encourage it. It's a group called Incisive Media in the UK, and they just do a brilliant job of design. Even if you're not into photography, you'll really enjoy this magazine. And they did a really nice job in the iPhone app of reimagining their content to be specific for this iPhone screen. And that's really the advantage that we've got in the magplus iPhone app, is that it works exactly like the iPad does. You get a template that is sized to the iPhone screen or the Android mobile screen, and you can design your content so it fits and works on that screen. It's not just a shrunken down version of your iPad app that people have to try to pinch and zoom around and try to decipher. You get all the same functionality that you get on the iPad side. You get your layers, you get your scrolling, embedded HTML, video, audio, pop-ups, everything you can do in the iPad side and the Android tablet side, you can now do in the mobile space. So go check out BJP's iPhone app. It's free. There's a bunch of free issues out there that you can look through, and I think it's a really good example of a way to think through the content that you have and how it should work in the mobile space. Now, it's worth noting for these guys that they didn't just take and redesign the text and the images here to work in the small space. They also looked at their content. So what you'll get in these issues out on the iPhone is not the full issue you get on the iPad. It's a sampling of it. It's a smaller bit. They took one story and turned it into a 20 or 25 page issue, and they're delivering that more. Right now, they're at Photokina, which is a giant photo event that happens, and they're putting out daily issues for their iPhone users that are updates from Photokina and what they're seeing. That's just some of the examples of the kinds of things you might want to think about in the mobile space where the use case is very different. The tablet, we know people use at night. They sit with it for an hour or two in the evenings on the couch, leaning back, relaxing, using it while they watch TV. Think about the way you use your phone is very different. Use it throughout the day. You use it in little bits and pieces in 10-minute chunks. So when you're thinking about your content and how to go into this space, think about delivering your users, your readers, smaller bits of content, more digestible things they can quickly and easily read as they're going along, and you might find you've got a whole new opportunity out on the phone that isn't just about porting through your tablet magazine or shrinking it down in there. So that's the iPhone. As I mentioned, you can download the Reviewer now. The new Reviewer, which I'm going to talk about next, is now a universal app, so it'll work on both the iPhone and the iPad. Same thing goes with our actual apps. You can build for the iPhone, you can build for the iPad, or you can build a universal. You can have one app that's going to work on both, and you can serve different content through to those two versions. So let me pop out to the Reviewer app here so that I can show you some of the great new things we've got in here. So here I was calling up some PopSci content we were testing out, but I want to point to, let me put away iTunes. There we go. So now I'm in the magplus Reviewer, and you'll notice right now the big thing that's different. The Reviewer has a library. The Reviewer can now save the things that you've reviewed to it, the things you've pushed out to it, until you delete them. And you can see here that I've got delete buttons and read buttons on each one of these. I've got a timestamp. I've got a thumbnail of what it was I was reviewing. This was a short sample issue for PopSci. Here was another example I was playing with. I've got a timestamp. I've also got a delete all button so I can clean out my library. Of course, someone asked me the other day, how many can I store? Well, the answer is really how much memory does your device have? At some point, a lot of MIBs in there is going to fill things up, so you're going to want to be able to delete stuff as you go. But what's really great and useful about this is from a client perspective or your boss or other folks in your organization, you can now walk in with your iPad and your reviewer and have multiple things to show them, a couple of versions to show them at once or different publications to show them. You don't have to bring along your computer and say, hang on, I got to push a new MIB out to the reviewer. They can all just be stored here. It also means that as a designer, when you're trying new things, you can try something one way and hit the review button and try it a different way, change your pinning settings or something else, push it through. And you can really now do that kind of A/B test. You can swap back and forth and go, do I like this one more? Do I like the other one more? One of the other great things about the reviewer app that we've changed, and I'm going to pop out to my email to show you this one, is that you can now, actually I better pop out to my email on the actual device, is that you can now email a link to a MIB to somebody and they'll be able to just click on it and have it work. So that's a different one. Let me pop open. Hopefully I won't be revealing any secret emails here. All right, here we go. So what I've done here is something a lot of you might have been familiar with before. You've created a MIB in the production tool. You want to send it off to somebody else, somebody in another location, somebody else in the organization. You want them to review it. A lot of times what we do for that, what we always talk about is using Dropbox, which is really useful syncing third-party tool. If you drop a MIB into your public folder in Dropbox, you can get a link like this. You can get a public link to it, which can be super useful. Let me find my Dropbox folder up here and I'll show you what I mean. There we go. So you'll see that when you install Dropbox, you get a Dropbox folder. You can fill it with all kinds of stuff. It'll sync among your computers. Again, it's a great service. You can get a free account out there that has about 5 gigs of storage in it. And one of the things you always get with the Dropbox account is a public folder. And everything that I put here in this public folder, I can right-click on and I can get a public link, which is this. I can get a URL directly to that file. So if I send this link to somebody else, they click it, it'll just download that file directly. It's a really useful file sharing tool. So this is a good way to share MIBs. Now what you used to have to do, if some of you remember in the 3.5 and before versions, was go into the settings of the reviewer, paste this in, make sure you selected remote review rather than single issue. It was a hassle. So one of the things we've done in this version is instead, now you can just take that link, and you don't have to use Dropbox for this, by the way. Any link that ends in .mib, any link that points to a MIB file, however you put this on your server, some other file sharing tool, etc., you can do this with. Email it to somebody. You'll see when I click it, now just like with any file download, it's going to go out to Safari. And now see up at the top this little progress bar. What's happening right now is it's downloading that MIB file. So this is what you can do with folks, is just email them a link. They're going to click it in their email on their iPad. And this is about a 75 meg file. So once this is done downloading, I'm going to get an option that pops up that says Open in Reviewer. So now when you want to share something with somebody else, you got a client, you want to show them a MIB, you send them a link to the magplus reviewer out in the store and say, hey, go download this free app. They don't have to sign in, they don't have to do anything. All they got to do is download it. Then you're going to send them a link to your MIB and say, open this email on your iPad and tap that .mib button. When they do, this is what's going to happen. It's going to download to their device. They're going to tap the Open in Reviewer. It's going to go straight into their reviewer to do. And again, it's going to store in their library so they can go back and look at it later, even if you send them multiple versions to check out. Really useful tool. So we'll let this download for a minute while I talk about something else that we've got going on in here, which is a sort of similar thing. If you remember, speaking of email, which is how I'm getting to this, if you remember in the previous versions, when you're building your app, and I'm going to pop out to publish so I can show you this, and we'll just pop out to, we'll use Outside again as a brand here. Let me sign into, oh, there we go. Let me sign in here. So we'll pop out to publish. We'll go out to the Apps tab. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute. If you remember in the old system, when you want to build an app, you go out here to your Apps tab, you fill in all of your build options, you upload all of your image files, you make it all nice, and then you click this big Generate New Build button. And when you do that, it gives you back a package that you can download, and this package contains your test app, and it contains your submittable app, your .zip file that you send off to iTunes to get live in the store. Well, now we've added a kind of a handy little extra feature for the testing, which is this Send Email button. So let me click on this. Oh, I don't have my mail set up, so I'm just going to jump back into my iPad and show you in my email what this looks like. So when you send the email, here we go. There's one I sent to myself earlier. This is what it's going to send to somebody. So basically, click Send Email. It's going to open up your email program and pre-populate an email with this link, a link that looks something like this. When they open up this link on their iPad, to install the app, all they have to do is tap this link, and it's going to install that test app for them. Now, just like before, this is only going to work with people you've already set up to be testers, the people whose iPads you've put on your ad hoc certificate, on your test certificate. It's going to be a handful of devices that you've pre-designated that can do this. But if you want to send out the app to multiple people in your organization now to test, you don't have to attach the file to an email. You don't have to tell them to go into iTunes and sync anything. Just send them this installable link email, tell them to click it on their iPad, and boom, it's going to install that test app on their device. Really useful way to make sure that you're doing the testing that we always encourage you to do, and especially with the new app and all the customizations that we have, and just going from an old version to a new version. When all of you jump in to do your new 4.0 builds, please go through the testing process. Open it up on your iPads if you can. Open it up on a regular one and a Retina one, and just make sure everything's looking the way you want it to look. It's the best way to avoid surprises once you get in the store and people go, hey, why is your banner orange instead of black? So now you can see, we'll jump back to what I was talking about before, this reviewing the MIB. So now you can see it's downloaded this MIB. It was about 70 megs, and I get this option, Open in Reviewer. So let me click that, and it's going to go ahead and open up my Reviewer app. It's going to bring it in here, doing its processing. You're going to see this progress bar whenever you do a review out to the reviewer now. So you can see how long it's taking. It won't just be a spinning thing. And now you can see I've got my design examples MIB here. This is what I was sending out. If I pop back into my library here, you can see now I've got this new thing populated here. It's a really useful way for sharing links out to people. I just want to talk a little bit about customization of the new app. And let me pop back out to, we'll use a different one now. We'll pop out to our friends at PopSci. This 4.0 app is live in the store, by the way. So if you want to see an example of a real live functioning magplus 4.0 app, these guys got it in right away, submitted it, so they're live now with the 4.0 app, and you can go out and download it. And check it out or update it if you've already got it. You don't have to buy anything. You can just go in and look at this, though I'm sure they'd appreciate it if you bought some stuff as well. So as I mentioned, more customizable in this version. Of course, all the icons down here are customizable. All of the labels here you can customize. Just like before, you can choose to only customize the little picture and then change the name, or you can put a completely unique button in here. So you can use your own fonts, your own backgrounds, etc. You can also customize still this branding bar up at the top where it says Popular Science and has some texture here. This is going to appear in any of the spaces out here that people are in. So this is optional. You can put this up here. You can use it, not use it, entirely up to you. And to give you an example of what else is customizable and give you a place to reference this, we've finally built what I hope is a really helpful little guide for you. If you go out to our support site, and please go out to our support site, we've reorganized some things out there. We hope it's a little bit more usable. We are always trying to make improvements there. We've got a bunch of 4.0 articles up here. One of them is this magplus UI specs. And this is a downloadable PDF, so we'll let this download for a minute. And it's a guide to all the things that are customizable in the app. Let me make my window a little bigger here. There's no reason to make you all squint at the screen. And We'll zoom in on this a touch. Here we go. So this is a guide to what's customizable and the things that you have to upload and the things that you can upload. So you can see icons, loading screens, just like before, newsstand icon there as well. This top branding bar, we give you the minimum and the maximum sizes. This top branding bar is now customizable in height. So before it had to be 60 pixels high or 120 on the retina. Now you can make it thinner or a heck of a lot thicker if you want to. Jump back down here. In terms of optional images, as we said, all these icons you can customize. The background for that bottom bar behind the icons you can customize. All of the back buttons you can change. The backgrounds that appear behind the store and the library. If I pop back out to my app here and go to my store, this background, this gray spot, I can customize this. It can be a texture, it can be a color, it can be a full screen image. You could put your logo back here. You could sell it to a sponsor if you wanted to and put a sponsor's logo back there. That's all customizable. The top bar. Backgrounds for the buttons. So you know our price buttons are green by default. Maybe you think red will draw people's attention to the price more, or a nice soothing blue. Up to you. Archive icons. All the top icons we were talking about, sharing, playlist, bookmarks, TOC, go ahead and change those. The bookmark icon, the close button for modal pop-ups, the rotate device image if you lock device orientation and you need a way to let people know, hey, turn it for this page to work. We've given you this one by default here. You want to put something else, a big, words that say rotate device, you can do that as well. So lots and lots of stuff you can customize out here if you want to. Also a lot more of the colors. So we still have what we had before we call the brand accent color, and it still changes the background of this slider out here in the scrubber. It changes the color of the bookmarks icon as well. But lots of other colors you can customize. In the store, you can customize the backgrounds of the list or the background for your subscription products. So if we pop back out to our iPad here, you can see that here's where I'm selling my subscriptions, and I've made the background white for these little boxes to call a little bit more attention to them. So that's something you can do, all of the lists, etc. So lots and lots of stuff you can customize in this one. And as I said, go out to the support site, download this document. It'll really help you when you jump into Publish and you get in here to your optional image files and required image files to help you figure out what goes where and which piece you wanna actually do. So now I'm going to jump into InDesign. The last thing I'm going to show you here is a couple of new things in the plugin. We're going to move away from the app for a moment. And I'm going to jump out and just open up a sample document here. So I've got something in front of us. Oop, that's my issue folder. Here we go. We'll just open up a really simple one. Now, I also want to mention this document that I'm opening up here is part of a collection of documents that we've now got available out on our support site. So let me jump back out to support. Actually, I'll show you. I'll just show you here where you can download this. So here in the support site, under magplus downloads, there's a link here that says design examples. What that's going to give you is a whole bundle full of InDesign examples of things that we've built that show off all the various functionalities and presentation styles and features of magplus. So you can see here, for example, in this content, we've got A, B multiple pages with a narrow A layer. So that's one way for you to look at and think about how to present your content. You can see 4 other ways to present this content using the A and B layers. There's sample documents that we're referring to in all of our tutorial videos and all of our articles out here so that now you can download these documents, and when you watch our video about pinning or about A and B layer, you can actually open this and open your layers and look at it and realize here now what we're talking about and how you actually build these things. So please take advantage of that. Head out to the support site, download these. A couple of things I did want to talk about in the plugin here. One is a really simple little thing, but I love it. I think it's just so useful, and I wish we would have thought about it a long time ago. And it's here in the settings when you're setting up your iPad to talk to the InDesign. You know, normally the way you would have done this before is you got to go into your reviewer app, you got to tap the help button or the settings button so that you can get the IP address of the device, then you got to come back in here, hit the plus button, paste it, blah, blah, blah. So what you can do now instead is we've finally implemented some simple networking so that on a Mac anyway, if I hit this little refresh button, it goes out and just looks for any iPads nearby or iPhones or Android devices that are running the reviewer, and then it just gives you the name of that here. So I'm using an old PopSci iPad that I have, so that's the name of my iPad is the PopSci Edit iPad. So now all I have to do is just select that. So now connecting InDesign to your device, don't worry about the IP. You can still enter it if you need to or if you want to. You can still click the plus button. You know, you could see you could still do it the old way, but you should just be able to go out here, hit the refresh button. It'll look for anything that's nearby. Now the reviewer has to be running, and they have to be on the same Wi-Fi network, just like before. But you can just go out here, select it, boom, you're linked up. The last thing I'm going to show you, again, that I hope is going to be really helpful for you, I'm actually going to close down these pages and just show you instead, is a script that we created to let you, what we call the folder export script, and it allows you to export an entire folder full of InDesign files at once. Now, to tell you, sort of explain how that's different or where that saves you time, traditionally when you're making your InDesign, magplus files, at the end of the process, you lay everything out, you're happy with it, you click this export button down here, and that turns this InDesign file into a magplus file. It writes XML, it changes all the resolution and sizes of the images, and it puts it all out in your issue folder so that you can then go bundle it into your magplus issue, but you had to do it one by one. So what we've instead is made a script that does a whole folder at once. Now the reason we were able to do this, let me go back in InDesign as I'm opening this up, is because as with many of the other functions in InDesign, the whole plugin is now scriptable. So if you know anything about scripting InDesign, and you can write scripts in a couple of different languages, and there are folks out there who know how to do it. If you don't know, you can find folks that know how to do it. What it means is that you can now write a script that automates parts of the plugin. So things like this, like you say, hey, I don't want to have to hit the export button and everything. I can write a script that automates the hitting of the export button. So let me open up this script and show you how it works. Now there is an article, of course, out on our site about this, so you don't have to pay attention to every button I'm pushing here and where to find it. But if you've never opened up the scripts palette before, it's just under Window, Utilities, Scripts. Again, you can refer out to the support article that walk you through this step by step. When you do, you dig in here a little bit, you get to the magplus folder, and we've got this folder or this file called folder export. Double click that, you're going to get this little window that pops up. And this basically just says, okay, point me to a folder full of InDesign files, magplus InDesign files. So I'm going to go out here, my desktop, my sample issue, and I'm just going to pick sample issue here because I've got a couple of folders. Now I've been using the multi-device export, so I've got a folder full of iPad files that I've made here, and I've got, if I scroll back, I've got an iPad Retina layout in here as well. Now if you're doing Fire and Android, you're going to have a bunch of folders out here with a bunch of InDesign files in them. This is where this script is really going to save you some time. And the script will read subfolders. So I'm just going to point to my sample issue because I know that somewhere out in here I've got a bunch of InDesign files, and I'm going to click Open. Now you see immediately under Files Found, it says 39. Let me actually go out here and zoom in on this a little bit for you. Somebody just pointed out a really useful new feature of the screencast software we have here, where I can actually zoom in and hopefully make things a little bit bigger and easier for you guys to see. So hopefully that helped a little bit. If not, then I don't know how to use these tools yet. So you'll see that here in our dialog box is Files Found 39, and now it says, okay, vertical output folder. Where do you want me to put these things when I do the export? So if I go back out here, I've already created an issue folder, and it's just like before, the same issue folder you would have used otherwise. So I'm just going to point it to that. Browse, here's my issue folder, open, that's the one I want you to use. Now you see there's an option here for get file details, and I'm going to go ahead and click that just so that you can see it actually functioning. Now it's going to take a minute to run through this because, as it warned you, it's a little slow. What it's doing right now is it's looking at every one of these InDesign files, and it's going to figure out what device was this made for, what's the name of it, what's the vertical ID. It's all stored along with the file when you save it. So as we run through this here, you'll see in the next dialog box that pops up, I get a little bit more information about it. I didn't have to click that, but I think it's useful. So now you can see I get this window that pops up that lists all of the InDesign files that it found in those folders and all of those subfolders that I have. You can see it even found my Retina one down here. It gives me the file name and the vertical name. So again, that's that name that pops up in the scrubber. This is what you set in the plugin as the name of that one, and what device it was made for. So now I can decide which ones I want to actually export. Maybe I just want to do a quick select and go, don't worry about the Retina right now, just do all for the iPad. Or I can go the other way and go to say, don't do any for the Retina. Or I can just say all, and I can just go in here and double click to turn off certain ones. So I'm going to say none. There we go. And I'm just going to turn back on a couple so that you can see this working here. So once I've selected the ones that I want to actually do the export, I just click Export Files. And now you can see this process will start happening in the background. It's doing exactly the same thing you would be doing if you opened up that file, hit the export button, waited, closed the file, opened it, export, close, etc. It's just doing this in the background. So what this means is when you're designing your issue now, just make all of your InDesign files. When you're happy with them, you've done your review, save them, do your multi-device export. At the end of the process, you're going to end up just like this. You're going to have a whole folder full of InDesign files, maybe multiple folders because you've done multiple devices, and you can just come back out here to InDesign, run the script, go to lunch. What's great about this is that even if something goes wrong when it's building this, and you'll see this, I don't know if I'm going to run into errors on any of the three I selected, but you can already see it happening over here. It's giving me a result. So let's say that you've got a broken link to an HTML file or to a movie file in one of your files. You know, that's something that'll screw up your export if you do it. If it says, hey, I can't find this movie file. The script will just give you a failed message here, and when you click on it, it'll tell you why it failed. It'll say, hey, I couldn't find the link to this movie, but it won't stop. So what's nice about that is, like I said, we really built this with the notion of run it, go to lunch, run it, go home for the night. You don't have to come back and worry about it. You're going to come back in the morning, you're going to look at your result window and say, oh, everything's okay. Oh, wait, that one I need to fix and change. You can see here it skipped everything. If I click on it, it's going to tell me, again, where it got it from, where it exported it to, the vertical name, etc. If I go out here now to my issue folder and Apple iPad, you can see that I've got the things that I just exported here. So again, I hope this is something you find useful. For the how to actually use it, pop out here to the support site. We've got a really great article that, again, walks you through step by step, tells you where to find that script, how to run it, what the different options and features do. But this is we're really excited to put this in this release, and I was glad that our brilliant plugin developers were able to make it, because it's an example of something you're really going to see us focus on over the next 6 months or so, and always ongoing, but with a real renewed focus over the next 6 months, which is your workflow. Where are the places in your workflow when you're building your magplus issues every month where we can save you time? What's a hassle? What are you running into that is just tedious, that's taken too much effort to do and slowing down your process? We've got some really great weekly and even daily publications that are using magplus now, and I know as a former monthly magazine editor that even on a monthly, your time is precious. So we really want to make sure that we're optimizing the tool set, the plugin, the production tool, the reviewer, to make this as efficient as possible so you put your time back into the actual creativity. So out here in the support forum, there's an area out here called feature requests. Anytime somebody posts something in here, email comes directly to me. So I usually reply right away because I see that somebody's posted something in here. But putting a call out now to everybody who's listening in on this, who's using magplus, Let me know what you think. Let me know, any feature requests are always welcome. We're always happy to take a look at them, let you know whether or not it's something we can do, when we might do it. But really on the production side, on the getting the work done side, anything that you guys can share with us that you say, boy, this is really a pain, this really stops me every month, let us know, because those are things we really want to focus on fixing. And if it takes you 10 hours to do your issue now, let's see if we can get that down to 6. Let's see if we can make this really efficient on the production side. So again, your effort goes into the creativity and doing brilliant work. I think that's about it for this 4.0 app. Again, pop out to the support site. We've tried to make it more usable. We've got some more stuff out here. We've really reorganized this getting started section. So if you don't know anything about magplus until this webinar and now you want to dive in, this is where you start. Getting started, we've got a step-by-step out here for how to install, create things, walks you through all the features. You want to know more about the 4.0 release, we've got the release note right here. Here in the downloads, we got the sample files, we got the UI specs, so you can check that out. Come out here and check out a little bit more. Always remember to head back to the blog. We got great stuff going up there, good design examples, videos of other clients that hopefully will inspire you, and can't wait to see what you all create in the new 4.0 system. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you again soon.